On January 31st, 2026, at exactly 5:32 p.m., Nancy Guthrie stepped into an Uber and headed to her daughter Annie's house, just a short drive away. It seemed like a completely normal evening. Nancy was 84 years old, a grandmother, a mother, and most famously, the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. She spent the evening with family, sharing dinner and conversation. Then, at 9:48 p.m., Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, drove Nancy back to her home in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson, Arizona. Security footage showed the garage door opening. 2 minutes later, at 9:50 p.m., the garage door closed. Tommaso drove away. Nancy was home. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. The next day, Nancy Guthrie vanished without a trace. What happened to the 84-year-old woman? Who took her? And why has one of America's most heavily investigated missing person cases remained unsolved for more than 4 months? Keep watching, because this story only gets stranger. Nancy Guthrie lived alone in a quiet neighborhood outside Tucson. Despite her age, family members described her as mentally sharp and independent. However, she suffered from heart-related health issues and relied on daily medication to survive. That detail would later make investigators fear the worst. The final confirmed sighting of Nancy was when she entered her home on the night of January 31. At 1:47 a.m. on February 1st, a doorbell camera at Nancy's house was suddenly disconnected. Not malfunctioned, disconnected. 14 minutes later, at 2:12 a.m., motion sensors detected activity outside the home. Then came perhaps the most chilling clue. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker monitoring system lost connection with her phone app. Investigators believe this likely happened because Nancy was moved away from the monitoring device. In other words, she may have been taken from her home right around that time. Hours passed. No one knew anything was wrong. At around 11 a.m., Nancy failed to show up at a friend's house where she regularly watched a virtual church service. Her friends immediately sensed something was off. They contacted her family. Relatives arrived at Nancy's home. What they found instantly raised alarm bells. Nancy was gone. But her phone was still inside. Her watch was still inside. Her wallet was still inside. For an elderly woman who never went anywhere without these items, that made absolutely no sense. 7 minutes later, a 911 call was made. Police arrived around 12:15 p.m. And what they discovered changed the entire investigation. There was a small trail of blood on Nancy's porch. Not enough to explain what happened, but enough to suggest she hadn't left willingly. By February 2nd, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos publicly declared Nancy's home a crime scene. Investigators believed she had been abducted. And there was another terrifying problem. Nancy needed medication every single day. Without it, her life could be in danger within 24 hours. The clock was ticking. Massive search operations began immediately. Helicopters, canine units, drones, FBI agents. Yet no trace of Nancy was found. Then, just when investigators were struggling to find answers, a shocking message arrived. A ransom note.
The note was sent to an Arizona news station. It demanded $4 million in Bitcoin by February 5th. If payment wasn't made, the demand would increase to...
The message claimed Nancy was safe but scared. It also threatened to kill her if authorities became involved. The note contained details investigators had not publicly released. That immediately made law enforcement take it seriously. But there was one major problem. No proof of life. No photograph. No voice recording. No evidence that Nancy was actually alive. As the days passed, the Guthrie family became increasingly desperate. On February 4th, Savannah Guthrie posted an emotional video. She pleaded directly with whoever had taken her mother. Her message was simple. Show us proof. Give us something that proves she's alive. We are ready to listen, Savannah said. The following day, February 5th, Savannah's brother Cameron released another emotional appeal. Again, there was one request: proof of life. But none ever came. That same day, the FBI announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to Nancy's return. Investigators also confirmed the blood found on Nancy's porch belonged to Nancy herself. The case was becoming darker with every passing hour. Then came a development that stunned the country. On February 7th, Savannah released another video. This time, her wording caught everyone's attention.
She said, "We received your message, and we understand. We will pay." The statement sparked intense speculation. Some experts wondered whether investigators had privately learned information they weren't sharing with the public. Retired FBI hostage negotiators later suggested the family's language might indicate investigators had become concerned Nancy was no longer alive. Meanwhile, investigators focused on a new lead: Annie's home. Specifically, the garage. Authorities spent hours searching the property, but nothing helped. Eventually, all family members were formally cleared as suspects. Then, on February 10, the public finally got its first look at the person investigators believed was involved. The FBI released surveillance images recovered from Nancy's security systems.
The photos showed a masked individual. Gloves, dark clothing, a backpack. The suspect appeared to be tampering with security equipment outside Nancy's home. Investigators later revealed the individual had tried disabling cameras before Nancy disappeared. Perhaps most chillingly, officials noted the suspect appeared armed. The release of the images triggered a flood of tips. Soon afterward, authorities detained a 36-year-old DoorDash driver during a traffic stop. His name quickly spread across social media. People assumed the mystery had been solved, but within 24 hours, he was released. He denied any involvement. Investigators found insufficient evidence connecting him to Nancy's disappearance. The case remained wide open. 2 days later, the FBI increased its reward to $100,000. Investigators released an updated description. Male, approximately 5'9" to 5'10", average build, carrying a black Ozark Trail backpack sold exclusively at Walmart. Authorities even explored the possibility that the suspect intentionally bought generic clothing and accessories to avoid standing out. Then came another mystery:
DNA. Investigators discovered DNA on Nancy's property that did not belong to Nancy or any known family member. Forensic teams rushed to analyze it. At the same time, roughly 16 gloves were recovered around the neighborhood. Initially, investigators thought one might belong to the kidnapper, but testing showed none were connected to the suspect. The DNA mystery remains unresolved to this day. By late February, investigators uncovered something extremely strange. Additional surveillance footage appeared to show the masked suspect in the area before Nancy vanished.
Weeks earlier, authorities revealed another clue. Someone had searched for Nancy's address online months before the abduction. Investigators were also examining Savannah Guthrie's salary, as she could be targeted because of a famous daughter. The frustration grew in March, and on March 12th, Sheriff Nanos said that the investigators believed they understood the motive, but since they were not certain, it was not announced. This led to multiple theories. Theory number 1: a ransom kidnapping gone wrong. Someone may have targeted Nancy because they believed Savannah Guthrie's family could afford a multi-million-dollar ransom. The searches for Nancy's address and Savannah's salary seemed to support this theory. But since the kidnappers did not provide any proof of life, this was uncertain.
Theory number 2: the ransom notes were fake and were merely a distraction designed to mislead investigators and buy time. Theory number 3: some observers believe the suspect may have lived or worked nearby, as the individual appeared comfortable moving around the area at night. The video felt targeted than random. In April, and on Mother's Day, she posted another emotional tribute to Nancy and reminded the public that the reward remained available. Then, in May, a YouTuber discovered some human bones near Tucson. Testing revealed the remains were unrelated and more than 1,000 years old. Another dead end. Then, on June 11th, an anonymous source claimed Nancy had been buried in an unmarked grave near Nogales. Search teams combed the area, but no grave or evidence was found. Today, more than 4 months later, the mystery remains unsolved. An 84-year-old woman disappeared from her home. A masked suspect was caught.
Blood was found at the scene. Ransom notes demanded millions. DNA evidence remains under analysis. And despite the combined efforts of local police, the FBI, forensic experts, helicopters, drones, search teams, and a reward exceeding $1 million, Nancy Guthrie has never been found. So what do you think happened? Was this a carefully planned kidnapping for money? Did the abductor know Nancy personally? Or is there a crucial clue hidden somewhere in the timeline that investigators have not yet connected? Let me know your theory in the comments. And if any major breakthrough happens in this case, I'll cover it right here